My name is Tali Sachs. I'm a 25-year-old non-binary fiber artist and soft sculptor. Last year, I finished my studies in Cape Town in fine arts at Michaelis UCT. And since then, I've moved to Johannesburg, my hometown, where I currently have my home studio. And I'm really passionate about using sustainable materials within my practice, involving collecting found materials, often rusted metals and plant matter, which I find in both the natural and urban environment. I then combine these found materials with fiber, such as sheep's wool, which I process, spin, felt, weave, and crochet. I'm a fine artist, but I'm also a teacher and curator, working under the name Found Fibre Studio in the hopes to open a fiber school in Johannesburg later this year, to be able to share my passion of both found objects and fiber in its various forms, as well as to instill an appreciation for slow and sustainable materials and creative processes. My artistic practice navigates the intersections between queer theory and urban studies, mostly focusing on the recontextualization and transformation of discarded and undervalued urban objects, which are often pushed to the peripheries of the city. Drawing on my academic research, I explore how spaces, objects, materials, as well as bodies are encoded and shaped by both historical and cultural forces influenced by societal expectations, especially those rooted in heteronormativity. My work then unfolds through critical reflections on these various theoretical frameworks, as well as my personal experiences as a queer, non-binary artist navigating urban spaces and feelings of alienation. My practice involves a dynamic fusion of both found materials and fiber in its various forms, often raw, spun, felted, woven, and crocheted, alongside processes of care, such as walking, looking, collecting, unlearning, relating, transforming, and rebirthing. Through my work, I really hope to challenge these taxonomical and Cartesian modes of separation and categorization between subject and object, matter and meaning, and masculinity and femininity. I usually curate my work as an installation that has to be carefully navigated within the gallery space, which invites viewers to question and disrupt these normative systems of power, identity, and urbanization, offering, hopefully, an alternative possibility for relationality and existence that are centered around processes of care instead of marginalization. This year was spent with my eyes on the ground, always looking for the next piece of quote-unquote trash to pick up and unearth and bring to eye level. Things I collected kind of ranged from more structural, I guess, components of metals and woods, to also more natural foraged materials, ranging from bones to seed pods and cocoons. And yeah, a lot of the time I would try to soften these supposed kind of rusty, discarded, dirty items through my weaving and my felting, where I'd use raw sheep's wool or hand-spun cotton. For me, kind of representing this interconnectedness between the natural and human realm. And constant tensions that we feel all the time between the two. And I guess they kind of are meant to represent this kind of hope for harmony. I really love imagining the past life of the objects I find, kind of where they've been, who's come into contact with them, how long they've been embedded in the soil or floating around the gutters. Yeah, and it seems to be quite a magical moment to come across something that has ventured very far, to land itself beneath your feet, you know. But it does make me really sad to think about these objects' life having been discarded as a kind of death to that object and its purpose, or so-called imagined purpose beforehand. And I really want to explore what it would take to transform and that object from death into rebirth. And this idea kind of informs and inspires a lot of the shapes and forms I gravitate towards, like seed pods, cocoons, and nests, which are all vessels in their own right, that both contain and protect this hope, for the future, for change and transformation.